Not at all.
Okay, my name's Eric Duncan, and today I want to talk to you guys about nuclear energy and why we need to embrace it. Um, we are a society that is very addicted to energy. We're using energy. Um, According to this chart by the Energy Information Administration, we are very heavy energy users, especially in the developed world. And according to that same administration, that's not going away. They expect it to go up by 48% by 2040. The issue with this is that we are also heavily reliant on fossil fuels, and this is causing obviously problems with climate change. It's a very dirty fuel, very efficient, but very dirty. What we need is a clean, abundant, and safe energy fuel source. Now, typically, a lot of people will go towards wind turbines and solar panels. There is some debate about how clean it is and other aspects, but that's a different topic. But the thing is that we also need an efficient fuel source. Again, fossil fuels tend to be very efficient. However, it's also dangerous, dirty, and so it's not the ideal fuel source going forward. Let me see. So I propose that nuclear energy is one that checks all the boxes at this time. It is very abundant, it is efficient, it is clean, and it is safe. Generally, the two things that get questioned about nuclear energy is it actually clean? Is it actually safe? And that's generally what I'm wanting to convince you guys of today. But first, what is nuclear energy? Nuclear energy is essentially the potential energy that is found inside of an atom. The atom has a nucleus made of electrons and protons, all bound together, surrounded by neutrons. And we release this energy through a process called nuclear fission. Now, here typically we use uranium-235, and in nuclear fission we will collide a neutron into the atom to split it apart. When it splits apart, you have two lighter atoms are formed, and also several neutrons are released, and these other neutrons hit other atoms, and thus the process repeats. And when this splits apart, it creates heat and radiation. That's the form of energy that's released from splitting an atom. Now, there's also thorium fuel, totally different process. That's not fissile, that's a fertile kind of reaction, more complicated, way more efficient, safer, and everything. I wish I could get into that. I'm a big fanboy of thorium. But everything I talk about today is the uranium aspect. Thorium, much more efficient, but we're going to use uranium today. And so we're able to capture this energy that's released from the atoms, and we're able to use it to heat up water. This water then forms steam and pressure, and we use this to spin turbines to generate electricity. Fairly simple concept, much more complicated obviously in real life, but simple concept at least. And so the first question we come to is, how clean is nuclear energy? Well, its main byproduct is water vapor, but that's not what everybody worries about. What everybody worries about is nuclear waste. Now, according to, according to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, or GAO, they come up quite a bit. There are 3 Department of Energy sites in the U.S. that stores the nuclear waste. I believe it's Washington, Idaho, and Nevada here. These other sites also store nuclear waste, but that's more of like the lesser grade. The ones that they use for nuclear energy plants is considered very high grade. The rest stuff would be like radiation materials from like X-rays, things like that. Mm-hmm. In any case, and these are the bunkers in which they are stored in, deep underground. And so this is, of course, this is a tunnel here for that storage. Of course, the idea is pretty simple. First off, nothing outside is going to impact it, and if there was a leak inside, it's not going to impact the environment around it. The regulations on this is probably some of the highest regulations you're going to find in the world. It's very hard for any of that stuff to get out. I had to add this. I turned really giddy whenever I saw these when I was over the road.
Is it like that's a truck pulling?
Yes. I'm sure they do it by train. I always saw it in the trucks. I would get it every time I saw the radiation sign. These are the actual vessels they used to transport it. These stuff, just solid metal. I don't think a bomb could tear that stuff apart. And so now it comes to the part of like, is it safe? The one everybody remembers is Chernobyl. Now Chernobyl is the only one that ever had a death or injury from a kind of meltdown. When you think of the meltdowns, you think of three, right? You think of Chernobyl, Fukushima, and 3 Mile Island. Now, according to, is it GOA again? No, according to the World Nuclear Association, there were only 2 major reactor accidents. Now that confused me at first too, because they did not count 3 Mile Island. They counted Chernobyl and Fukushima. Now that's because these 2 actually had leakage. They actually got out. There was an explosion with this one, and there was a fire with this. I can't remember exactly what happened.
There was it was like an earthquake, right?
Yeah, so it was like a earthquake caused a tsunami. Yeah, and they got out into the ocean. I heard from a nuclear physicist once that stuff pretty much dispersed within like a month. It had a very quick half-life. But in any case, there was no injuries or deaths with Fukushima. Now, when we had the meltdown in 3 Mile Island, first off, it took them several months to actually know that there was an actual meltdown. That's they knew there was an emergency, but the meltdown stayed contained. And so it took them several months to actually get in there. It's like, oh, the rod's actually, there was actual meltdown. They studied this particular situation in the 70s, and what they concluded from that analysis is that even if there is a meltdown, it's very unlikely to actually affect the surrounding area. It's most likely going to stay very contained. And that is because of regulations like this. This is from the U.S. Regulatory Commission. The chart itself is from a Japan Atomic, I have it down there, Japan Atomic Energy Agency. And so one of the regulations they have is that it has to be a 1 in 10,000 year core damage frequency. That regulation particularly is talking about an earthquake. So that's like that one earthquake in 10,000 years that's like history changing earthquake. All nuclear power plants have to be able to withstand one of those earthquakes. Modern ones are made to withstand a 1 in a million, and ones that are being built or planned to be built in the future stand 1 in 10 million. So we're gone, they're still ticking. It's basically how they build them nowadays. And then going into the hazards and death in occupation. This part's really started. So this is like the everyday issues that you would have. Here is, I know it's hard to see. This is coal, this is oil, 120, 100. Down here is nuclear at 0.01, less than 0.01. And this is per terawatt year. Surprisingly enough, a terawatt year is 5 months. It's how much energy the entire world uses within a 5-month period. So within a 5-month period, you're going to have 120 deaths in coal, have 100 deaths in other fossil fuels, and I think the average is something like 1 death in 15 years or something like that with nuclear. Very safe material. And so, and beyond all of this, as I said, like fossil fuels, most efficient. According to some of the other power companies, this one says spring power and gas. For whatever reason, it's hard to get side-by-side comparisons, but they claim it's 8,000 times more efficient than fossil fuels. Now, that one's a little bit questionable. I didn't like the source, the only source I could find. I'm trying to look up that information. I do know that...
So different, it's probably hard to
Yeah.
compare, right?
Yeah, now, and there's a lot of factors comes in, a lot of variables. Even just comparing like natural gas to like coal, right? But I also know that thorium itself is 2 to 3 times more efficient than uranium. We use uranium because we're recycling our nuclear warheads. I think they're U-238 after some time passes is U-235. And so they take that, use it in our power plants.
Because of the expense.
Yeah, basically. It kind of makes sense. Thorium,
We already have.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't talk about thorium. But anyways, I would just ask you, don't take my, I will talk with you guys after about it. Don't take my word for it. Research it for yourself. There's a plethora of information out there. My computer's been hating me the last couple of weeks, just all the windows have open. But just, I would ask you just research it yourself and talk to other people about what you find. I think it's a very important topic. This world is very fast paced and it is ever changing. If we want to keep progressing, we need to have a source of energy that's actually going to work. Thank you for my ed talk.
Aw,
So,
nice job.
all right.